talking about in this lesson, this is a follow-up of the C and G major one octave scales, the last lesson. And in that lesson, at the end of the scale, I played a triad like this. And said I would get into that more, what a triad is. And I did talk about it a little bit, but this is called the theory of chords, three-part harmony and triads. And this is, we're just going to talk about how chords are actually derived from scales. So if you think scales and chords are completely different, they are not. They are linked together, definitely. And basically a scale, like if I play a C scale with one finger up to the fifth tone of the scale, that's C, D, E, F, G, and that's stepwise, and you've got a whole step, a half step, and a whole step. Those are steps. But when we skip every other step, like this, or if I go up and down, I'm skipping in what we call thirds. So these are steps, these are thirds. And it's the same notes except I'm skipping every other note. So a triad in harmony, think of three singers singing in harmony. Often they'll be singing a triad. And a triad has a root, third, and a fifth. And in the C scale, C is the root of the scale, and C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tones of the scale. There's more than that, but I'm just doing the 5 tones that make up 1, 3, 5. So we in the triad, and if I play it as a chord, or play it and let them ring together, that's a triad. And now when you strum a regular C chord, it's got 5 strings, and you think, well, a triad is 3 notes. Why is this 5 notes? It's because we're doubling those essential 3 tones of the 1, the root, third, and fifth of the triad. So you have a root, third, fifth, root, third, and a full C chord. So, and they're not always in order. Like in a D chord, you have a root, a fifth, a root, and a third. So they're not always in the same order. And if you start a triad on the third, that's called a first inversion. And if you start the triad on the fifth of the triad, it's called second inversion. So we have different inversions and many different voicings of those 3 essential notes that we call a triad. And chords, major scale harmony, when you think about chords, we number them, just think of odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And when you see a jazz chart where you see A flat 13th chord, then that's what that means. You're building third upon third. So you can go on, and like if I start on this C, I can go root, third, fifth, 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, and then when you get to 15, that's the root again. So you've come full circle. So in jazz chords, will only go to like a 13th chord, or 9th chord. That's what it means: root, third, fifth, 7th, 9th, and it's odd numbers. So that's how chords are structured, in skipping every other tone of a scale. And it's not always a major scale. It could be a minor scale. It could be a diminished scale. There are different types of scales. So just think of numbering the tones of the scale: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, and then 1, 3, 5. Or you could go 1, 3, 5, 7. Then you got a seventh chord. But that's the basic way we think of harmony as derived from scales. And just remember, the triad tones are root, third, fifth. Now in the key of C, if I started on the second note and did a root, skipped every other tone, that would be the second, fourth, and sixth tone of the scale, but it's still the root, third, and fifth of this particular D minor triad. And if I go to the next triad, the next chord, and that's also in the scale, that's the third, the fifth, and the seventh tones of the scale, but this is an E minor triad. We call it the 3 chord because it's built off the 3, the third of the scale. And so it's the third, fifth, seventh, but within this triad, we still call this the root, third, fifth. So that can be a point of confusion. If you're thinking of all the notes of a particular C scale, but you're thinking of different triads within that scale, each one of those triads has a root, third, and fifth, but it's not necessarily the root of the key of the scale that you're in, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit of things like that where you're talking about root, third, fifth, and or the root, the tonic note of the key, that can be confusing with music theory. But if you study it, the more you work with theory and chords, the more you'll understand it. And it's kind of like a Chinese puzzle. Eventually everything will come together, mysteriously. Not really. It's not really mysterious. A lot of people don't like theory because, honestly, we're putting names on things that, to them, they like to keep it mysterious. Oh, that chord sounds so beautiful. I don't even want to know the name of it. It's just that kind of thing. So I can understand that. Because theory does kind of take the mystery out of things. When you go through extensive theory knowledge and you understand it, it does kind of take the you understand music a lot better, but the childlike wonder of discovering a ninth chord, and thinking, oh, that's wonderful, and not knowing it's a ninth chord. The Beatles were like that. They would sing in harmony and sing a ninth chord, and George Martin would say, oh, that's just a ninth chord. They go, oh, we think it's wonderful, it's beautiful. So, and it is, so knowing more about things does kind of take a little bit of the mystery away, but there's a lot of benefits, beyond that. And there's still, you can make up chords that nobody can name, believe me. So if you like this video, hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel, John Hedger Guitar Studio, and also like John Hedger Guitar Studio on Facebook. Thank you so much.